I know this guy, by the way, tweets during baseball games because I'm watching the baseball games with the Indians on Sports Time Ohio, and I'll often see Andre Knott with a home run trot or something with the guys coming back to the dugout. Andre Knott joins us from Sports Time Ohio. Appreciate you taking some time in beautiful St. Louis, Andre.
Hey, no problem. Thank you guys for the time as well. Usually with some of those tweets, I got to cut them short because you can't hear everything that's been said in the dugout.
Yeah, I imagine that is true. Listen, last night notwithstanding, it's been a pretty good run here for the Tribe lately. In your mind, what has been? Well, I imagine that starting pitching has a lot to do with it. But what is that the key to what has happened here and transpired for the Tribe?
Yeah, I think obviously the starting pitching is the competition amongst the starters. I think it's a healthy competition when you talk about what drives these guys. To me, it's been the phenomenal story for me from the inside looking in. Is that you knew what Corey Kluber was. You had a pretty good idea what Carlos Carrasco was. And even Trevor Bauer to a certain extent. I know a lot of times, in spring training, people look at just, numbers overall of a season. But the second half of last year, the light bulb seemed to go off for Trevor Bauer. But I think the great thing is to watch Trevor and Clevenger and now Bieber and now Pleco, how all these young guys are all kind of, they're hungry for the same success that they've seen from Kluber and Carrasco. And it's almost, and I think this is for anything in life, but like anyone that's been successful, especially in a team since, you find other people that have been successful and you get to be around them and you learn what's made them successful. And that's been fun to watch. Just because you can see these young guys, they all watch each other's bullpens. They all go back and forth on, how to throw certain pitches and why to throw certain pitches. And I'm not around every Major League Baseball team and pitching staff, but it would be hard for me to believe that there's another pitching staff that relies on one another and pushes each other so much. I talked to Corey Kluber in spring training this March, and I asked him, I said, when we were all growing up in the 90s, the Atlanta Braves were looked at as the perfect rotation. And he laughed, and he says, well, that's what he goes, we want to be that, but better. Mm-hmm. And he didn't say it being arrogant. I think people get that because he's not that way. He said that, and that's our goal. We want teams to fear seeing 1 through 3 or 3 through 5, and so far they've been able to attain that, and it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Well, you may be answering the question I'm going to ask you, but maybe it's that camaraderie, that pushing each other. But what has been the difference with Trevor Bauer? This is a guy that would be occasionally dominant, who had electric stuff, but there would be games where he was kind of inconsistent. But really, we're going on kind of really like a year. There was the second half of last year and then all of this year. What has made him from being occasionally dominant, Andre, to being consistently dominant?
I'll use a word that he hates because I know he's not listening, but I'm sure it'll get back to him because this is how it works in my life. Maturity. I think he's just grown up a little bit. He hates the word because he feels like he's had the stuff. I'll give you an example. We were during a game, sometimes, different places, I sit pretty close to certain guys or they sit near me. And Trevor and I have been known just to have deep conversations during the middle of a game because that's how he is. And he told me, he goes, yeah, Dre, it took me a while in high school to really take off. It took me 2 years. My teammates went from hating me to, I became one of the best pitchers in the state of California. And he goes, I get to UCLA in the first year and a half. No one wanted me on the team. Everyone thought it was weird. And then, I go 17-2 when we go to, the College World Series. And this is like his second year with the Tribe or second, and I look at him and I go, so what you're telling me, Trevor, is it takes you a little while to get comfortable, and then you mature into that situation, and your game takes off. And he looked at me. He goes, "I hate the word maturity."
Yeah.
So you get my drift?
Yeah, I get your drift. Well, whatever it is, he's figured it out, and he is. He's had 100 pitches every start. He and Kluber. You've got two legitimate number ones. When Carrasco gets back healthy, he's like that. There are very few rotations, maybe Houston or whatever, that can match up pitcher for pitcher with this team.
Yeah, no, it's really cool because, the thing is, they're going to get better. Trevor's going to get better. There's more to Trevor than just that story that I've told. He's got electric stuff. He takes it. He's a scientist when it comes to it. He's unlike any other pitcher. And what truly has happened, I want to say this, is that he went from teammates kind of looking at him going, what's the weird guy doing down in the corner, to guys are now going down to him and saying, hey, man, how do you throw your curveball? Or, hey, man, why do you throw it like this? When we were out in Seattle to start the season, they have drive lines. They have like basically a garage or a warehouse where he works out in the off season. They've got all these cameras and all these different tools of the trade. And it was funny because Mike Clevenger had gone out there, Dan Otero, and slowly but surely he went from the guy that's got this pole that everybody's making fun of before the game and these weighted balls to now I see all of our guys using weighted balls. So it's really cool to watch, and I have a feeling, and these guys know this, you got to win a World Series for people to truly remember you. But I think they've got a group of guys that are going to be truly remembered if they can keep working this way and they can avoid injuries. And we all know that's that one thing no one can predict.
Visiting with Andre Knott. You see him on Sports Time Ohio on Cleveland Indians coverage here on Sports Radio 105.7 The Zone. Andre, looking at the bullpen, which was incredibly shaky for a couple of months, it seems like it's stabilized itself with the emergence of Perez and Neil Ramirez. But obviously, you want to get Andrew Miller back.
Yeah.
What is Andrew Miller's status? And do they have a luxury in the fact that they have such a large lead in the division that they can, I don't know, take their time a little bit with him and get him better?
No, Matt, you hit on it. They have the luxury of being in a very bad division, being the best team in the division, and being able to kind of tinker with things. I think the last time that Miller tried to come back, I won't say he came back too soon. He won't say he came back too soon. But he was trying to get back to fix it. There was a hole. There was a hole in the bullpen. It was leaking bad. It was things were getting away from guys, and they let him get back here early. My concern is this, and no one has said this to me. My concern is, and I think any athlete, if you're just the local guy that likes to run a mile, 2 miles in the morning, and you've gone from being able to run 2-3 miles to when you start running, you have discomfort in your knee, or when you take that step on your leg, and it just doesn't feel safe. And I think that's the best way I can say it. When Andrew Miller pitches, he comes down violently on his right leg, and he has to have some belief and feeling that when he comes down on that right leg, he has to trust that it's not going to be pain. He has to trust that he can put all of his weight and that have that violent way that he throws the ball, have all of the power to be able to sustain that in his knee. So they've tried braces, they've tried taping it. And when he hurt the hamstring, he admitted that he kind of went away from some of the work that he had been doing since spring training to keep that knee as sound as possible. So what they're trying to do now, and yes, they're taking their time, is they're trying to get him to feel as comfortable as he possibly can. They're trying to find the right, situation to put him in. But they are going to take their time with this, and they want him to get right. And I'll be honest, because of the division, you can probably wait an extra week, an extra 2 weeks to get this, because as Terry Francona has said, and he means it, for this team to go where they want, they're going to ride him as hard as they possibly can. So they're going to hold out, and hopefully they can get him the last 2-3 months of the season and then get him a playoff run where they can run him all the way to the last game of the season.
I know he's been with the team. Is he even throwing yet, Andre, or how far away is he?
He actually, this is the first trip he's not with the team.
Okay.
He's back. He was on our last road trip. He was throwing bullpens. He was getting ready to start facing hitters when we came back home. When we came back home, he did another bullpen, and I don't know what happened through that situation, but they stopped him throwing. He's back at home right now, but he is throwing. He hasn't stopped throwing at all, but he's just back throwing on flat ground. He's not even on a mound at this point in time, and Tito told us yesterday he's not even going to give us a timetable. He's just telling him to take his time and get ready the best way possible.
Andre, I got to ask you, flipping over to the offense, last night notwithstanding, the offense has really picked up, but Francisco Lindor and Jose Ramirez, is there a better bargain in baseball than those two guys?
They're special. I don't know how many of your listeners, the age brackets, and I used to work in radio, and they would tell me the listener that we're looking for. So hopefully they'll get this.
Yeah.
And I know you're in Columbus. Matt Underwood and I have gone to taking the relationship between Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor is very reminiscent of what happened in Pittsburgh in the late 80s with Lynn Swann and Stallworth.
Yeah.
Where one guy was the first-round pick, and he had good looks, had the commercials, had the TV, greatness of Swan had. That would be Lindor. And then you had Stallworth from the small black college that was drafted late in the draft and had to earn everything he got. But at the end of the day, they both ended up becoming Hall of Famers. The relationship of these two, there's no hate between these two. But, we know it ourselves watching the game, Matt, being around him. Lindor hits a couple of home runs, and I'll instantly say in my mic, or I'll say to our producer, Jose's getting ready to do something.
Mm-hmm.
They've been pushing each other since they were drafted by the Indians. Obviously, the way they went about getting drafted and the money was so different. And Jose holds no remorse towards Lindor. But Lindor admits 4 years ago, when the team left spring training and they made Ramirez a starting everyday shortstop at 21 years old, and they left Lindor in Akron at Double-A, it made him madder than he's ever been before. Not because he didn't respect Jose, but he knew that was his spot. And he knew if Jose got too much time there, he didn't know what would happen in his life and in his career. Now, lo and behold, it's all worked out perfectly because Jose really is as selfless as it comes. But I mean, you look at it today, and even talking to coaches that have been around him, no one thought that Jose Ramirez would be a guy that would lead the league in home runs.
Yeah.
But he's at a point in his life where he sees the ball so well. He's an all-star second baseman, guys. He would be a Gold Glove second baseman. There is no doubt in anybody with this organization. We all think that he would be one of the most entertaining second basemen you would see. But that's not the position he's at right now. That's the amazing thing to me.
Yeah, real quick before I let you go, it seems like when I watch you interview Francisco Lindor after a game, and he's had over the weekend he hit the crazy home run on an inside fastball that looked like he had no business hitting a line drive home run, but he did. He seems uncomfortable talking about hitting home runs. Is he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Matt, he doesn't see himself as a home run hitter. The one thing about Lindor that I love, and Matt, you've been around a lot of athletes, and there is I don't want to say arrogance, but there's a confidence of belief in who I am and where I'm at and he has that. But the one thing, and I've known him from the day he was drafted, and I've been around him from the first day he came up with the big league club. He always wants to come off as a good teammate, and he does anything he can to be a good teammate. He doesn't like talking about himself. He doesn't like – that's why I pushed him the other day to talk about that home run, because I knew it was something special. I knew – he came right off the field and he looked at me. He goes, I dang near closed my eyes. I was trying to foul the pitch off, and because the guy kept getting a cutter in on him, and he was like, the guy is getting in my kitchen, and I hate it. But I also know, and this is just me lucky from doing my job and trying to do it the right way, and spending spring training with him and doing specials and knowing how he hits off the tee and how he does a whole round where he tries to swing inside like that to get inside the ball. So I know I've got to ask the question just right for him to answer the right way. Because if I just say, hey, man, talk about that home run, he's going to say, I tried to put a good swing on it to take care of my team.
That's right.
I have to ask in a way of, because I always tell him, and I always tell Jason Kipnis, I always say, remember what it was like when you were a little kid and all you wanted to know was what made your best player or your favorite player become great.
Right.
I go, it's not about talking to me. You're talking to fans and kids. And think about that. And I said to Francisco, I go, think about the 13-year-old that's going to go hit in the backyard tonight. Help him.
Yep. Exactly. And he does that. He looks like a great guy to be around without question. Andre, we really appreciate the time we'll be watching tonight in St. Louis. Appreciate it very much.
No problem, Matt. Take care. Have a great day.